fastest growing news website in the nation, because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Expect congestion on the A48M westbound between Junction 29 Castleton and Junction 29A St Mellons. In Cambridgeshire, a collision on the M11 southbound between junctions 10 and 9 is causing delays with one lane closed. Kent's M25 anti-clockwise between junction 4 and 2 has substantial congestion with a 50-minute delay. Watch for a temporary speed restriction on the Queensferry crossing due to roadworks. On the trains, Cross Country is experiencing disruption between Plymouth and Penzance, while Great Western Railway has road transport replacing trains between Exeter St David's and Barnstaple. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Secretary is urging medical professionals to prescribe having a job as a form of treatment for anxiety and depression. West Streeting wants employment to be seen as being just as vital to health as diet and exercise. His comments come as the latest figures reveal there are more than 2.8 million people of working age who are economically inactive in the UK because of long-term sickness. Joining me now is a psychotherapist and broadcaster, Lucy Beresford. Lucy, good to see you. What do you make of this story? Prescribing going to work, basically?
In effect, that's what it's doing. And on the whole, I'm fully behind it, because work is a very powerful mood lifter. It works on three levels, really. It gives you a sense of structure. It gives you somewhere that you have to go and to be there at certain times, maybe fulfill certain deadlines. It also gives you a sense of purpose. And we know from a lot of studies that when you have mental illness, and particularly when you have depression or anxiety, that sense of helplessness, worthlessness can be very debilitating, and it can send you on a downward spiral, make it very hard for you to get well. And yet if you have work, if you have a sense of purpose, if you have a mission, if you like, if you have goals, if you get improvements in your work and you get promoted, all of those things can be very beneficial. And the third thing, of course, is that in the workplace, we form human connections. We are very relational creatures, human beings. We come into this world physically joined to another person, and that is our template. We are longing for connection.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question, that's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and wanted to have an open discussion.
My name's Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Good morning, it's 9:30 on Monday the 17th of November, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom, with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, what will the human rights lawyers think about this?
I will announce the most significant changes to our asylum system in modern times.
Well, that's the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood telling countries to take back their citizens or face a total visa ban. She'll reveal her full immigration system overhaul later today.
And over the weekend, people living in East Sussex protested against Home Office plans to house 600 asylum seekers in an old local army camp.
And why has the Chancellor got her sights set on strawberry, chocolate and banana milkshakes?
2 police officers came in. I was on a Zoom call just like this and arrested me. And in the sitting room, another pair of officers arrested my partner, Rosalind, in front of our 3-year-old daughter.
The 6 police officers arrested Maxie and Rosalind Allen earlier this year for WhatsApp comments made about their daughter's primary schools. Well, the police have now paid them £20,000 in damages. You couldn't make it up, could you?
Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office.
It's set to be a frosty start now. Heavy rain will move into northern areas.
Well, do we have a climate fear addiction? A government climate change report warns that what they call eco-fear, eco-anger and eco-grief could drive Brits to drug abuse.
Oh, for heaven's sake. This story is extraordinary. Fly tippers have dumped literally hundreds of tons of waste stacked 10 metres high in a field in Oxfordshire by a very busy road. And the removal cost, they say, is greater than the entire budget of the local district council. We've got a solution for that rubbish tip.
So, Andrew, we've got lots of very serious news to cover today, but this story about people becoming addicted to drugs because of their fear about climate change is quite something. I mean, do you think there is something to be said about children particularly being frightened by climate scientists in schools being told the world's about to end and all these kinds of things? I'm sure it does induce anxiety in children sometimes, but to blame your drug habit on it.
On drugs, it's ridiculous. Give me a stroke.
Of all the excuses I've heard.
I know, it's a bit of a stretch, don't you think? What do you think? We'd like you, as ever, to send your views and post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Your 9:30 headlines. The government is set to rewrite parts of the Human Rights Act, aiming to make it easier to deport illegal migrants. The Home Secretary will unveil the overhaul in Parliament this afternoon. But refugee groups say it's just another plan that won't work, warning that no deterrent can outweigh the risks people already take to flee. Police say organised gangs are using more sophisticated methods to steal cargo, even setting up fake haulage firms to disappear with goods. The Road Haulage Association says the criminals are getting smarter, with thefts up 2/3 last year. President Trump is calling on Republicans to release secret files on Jeffrey Epstein, a U-turn from his earlier position. He says his party has nothing to hide ahead of a congressional vote expected tomorrow. And the US is preparing to label Venezuela's so-called Cartel de los Soles a terrorist organisation, alleging President Maduro himself is involved in drug trafficking. Washington hasn't published proof, but the move fuels talks of a possible military strike. Formula One technology could soon fix poor train Wi-Fi. A trial on Great Western Railway will combine phone masts with satellites for super-fast onboard internet, the same hybrid system used in F1 cars. And snuggle up, cold weather alerts now in force across much of England as snow and ice hit. The Highlands dropped to -7 overnight, the UK's coldest night since March. Those are the headlines. I'll be back with a full roundup at 10.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Kate.
Well, the Home Secretary's it's a big day, isn't it? Because she says she's going to introduce some of the toughest measures ever on illegal migration. Countries that refuse to take back failed asylum seekers could face a total visa ban. This is all going to fall apart because of the Human Rights Act, it's the European Court and migration laws, human rights laws, surely.
Well, yes, absolutely. And if she has to change any legislation, there's no way that Labour MPs will back her.
No.
Now, I think Kemi Badenoch has come out and said that the Conservatives would consider supporting Labour if there were a substantial number of rebellions. But that would look terrible for the Labour Party.
Yeah, and she's doing that because she knows how bad it would look for the Labour Party. I mean, she's just been very political, but that's fine. She's leader of the opposition, that's her job. But she's also talked about illegal immigration tearing the country apart. Now, that's not the language you normally expect from a Labour Home Secretary. But that's why Starmer put her in that job, so she could use that sort of language. She's a Muslim woman. in a multiracial constituency in Birmingham. But I just don't think she's going to carry the government with her.
I mean, she's certainly saying a lot of the right things, and people who know her well within the Labour Party, people like Lord Glassman, say she's blue Labour, you know, she's on the kind of small C Conservative wing of the Labour Party, and that she genuinely does think that we should control our borders, which is all very encouraging, but she's still got 405 backbench Labour MPs to deal with, and we know exactly how they feel about strict asylum and immigration rules, because in the last Parliament they voted against every single opportunity to secure our borders.
And The Guardian is reporting today that at least one minister is on resignation watch. So, she'll be speaking later on, and we'll hear what she's got to say. Let's talk to Rob Bates, who's the Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. Rob, is this, good morning to you, as suggested, the most draconian crackdown?
Well, it's been billed that way and it's been very much presented that way, and I think definitely the headlines have worked in the Home Secretary's favour. It looks incredibly tough measures, but actually the practicality of implementing any of these reforms, it really is dubious. Of course, as you mentioned, the ECHR is the big problem that they simply haven't really addressed and set out clearly how they plan to reform those Article 8s and Article 3s, which are the real sort of toys of immigration lawyers.
Article 8 means about right to family
life, and then Article 3
about torture
and degrading treatment, and that is, of course, a very steadfast one that is very, very difficult to actually in any way delineate yourself and differentiate the sort of interpretation from what it says.
So she said that instead of family being interpreted as anybody in your extended family, your third cousin twice removed, she'll make it much stricter, parents, children perhaps. But is that possible to do without amending primary legislation?
No, it would require a lot of amendments, and this is actually the point, isn't it? And this is why we've seen already 9 Labour MPs kicking up a right stink, throwing hissy fits about this. They really aren't actually taking the parliamentary Labour Party with them, it seems. And, you know, we remember Keir Starmer last year talking about the island of strangers. I do wonder when Mahmood's talking about sort of illegal immigration tearing the country apart, how long it will be before we start seeing a U-turn. And some of the big headline measures actually really fall apart under close scrutiny when you think of sort of the proposals that 20-year pathway, 20 years have to wait for an illegal migrant until they can get finally that ILR status. Well, after 5 years, they'll still be able to get refugee status. Sorry, after sort of several months in some instances, they'll still be able to get refugee status, which gives them entitlement to universal credit and benefits. And this idea that it's going to be reviewed every 30 months to see whether the situation has changed in their country of origin. Well, a lot of individuals claiming asylum aren't doing it because of the conditions in their country. They're doing it because of very personalised circumstances to them. They put in claims sort of because they're a homosexual or because they're a Christian. They sort of face persecution in their own village. And I really don't see how the Home Office has the wits or the ability or the resources to conduct these sort of biannual assessments of each individual case.
How will they keep track of these people?
Well, exactly. They won't. And you know, she's talking about sort of them not having an automatic right to hotels and accommodation and financial support. But I think that's incredibly mealy-mouthed. And what she's actually saying there is they probably have to fill in a form and an application rather than it just being sort of automatically granted. Because there's so many destitution obligations on central government and on local government that it really is far-fetched to suggest that they're just going to completely pull the rug. And then what would that mean? It would mean tens of thousands of men sort of just floating around towns without anywhere to go. I really think that's incredibly unlikely as well.
I heard some Labour MP saying on the radio over the weekend, we've got to make the case more and more about why migration is a great benefit to the country, and these illegal migrants could be a great benefit. But do you know what is the figure? I read the figure the other day about how much the migrants are claiming in universal credit. Is it £7.5 billion a year or something like that now?
It's a big number. We know that there's about 200,000 individuals that have refugee status or humanitarian status that are claiming universal credit. We don't actually know the breakdown of how much that accounts for, but it is a significant number. Then we also need to look at, really, we're always told, you know, doctors, engineers, this is what the Green Party now claim all these individuals coming across on the boats are. On certain refugee routes, we have sort of 1 in 10 people are actually in employment, and the rest of them are sort of, you know, imposing costs on the welfare system, on resources, on services and whatnot.
And one of the claims that those on the left often make is that the reason people are coming across on small boats is because we don't have enough safe and legal routes. Now, one of the proposals that we believe Shabana Mahmood will make today is to increase the number of safe and legal routes and also to expand the Homes for Ukraine scheme to cover all countries in the world. That could make the problem worse, surely.
Well, it would mean numerically we are ending up taking a guaranteed number of people, and I actually think sort of the priorities have gone a bit askew as to what the British public think about this issue. It is not just the sort of unfairness of individuals coming across the boat and being treated like kings in many instances, but it is just the simple fact that this country now has seen 30 years of huge numbers coming into the country, legally and illegally, and it just doesn't, in many instances, feel that it's a sustainable situation. Communities are changing, the cost costs are unbearable. So I think legal routes is actually really a really sort of intimidating and scary prospect, because it would mean that we sort of have baked into our immigration system a certain number of individuals coming across each and every year. With regards to the sort of homes for whichever country it is ends up being adopted in this scheme, I can't see the take-up being quite as high as it was for the Ukrainian scheme.
Yeah, but it said that it could be used by people who are here already and have a connection to those countries, so it could be exploited quite substantially.
Well, it could be, and of course, actually, what the proposals are also saying is that they're going to sort of hope that voluntary and charitable organisations are able to be involved and sponsor individuals coming across on these safe and legal routes as well. And we know what those organisations are like. If you give them sort of give them an inch, they'll take a mile. If you give them any taxpayer funding, they'll end up using it to sort of campaign and lobby against the government. And I really think actually what we are doing, hidden in the crumbs of this plan, is setting up ourselves for further problems down the road with sort of arming really this open border industry that has been proliferating in recent years.
Can I start you on Article 3? Because we always hear, don't we, about Article 8, which is the right to family life. But Article 3, a story that ITV broke a couple of months ago. A Brazilian paedophile who raped a 5-year-old girl is here in this country invoking Article 3. I can't go back to Brazil because if I go to prison, I'll be beaten up and tortured in prison. I'd rather hope if he does go back to prison, Brazil, he is beaten up and tortured, because that's what he deserves after sexually assaulting a 5-year-old girl. So this Article 3 is being used as a shelter from fugitives from international justice, some of whom are appalling people.
Absolutely.
That cannot be right.
Absolutely, and it's being used for incredibly particular circumstances. You know, sort of Turks that have maybe not paid the drug lords on time and had to leg it over here, and therefore we can't return them. And this is why the idea of sort of being able to review each individual case after 30 years is ridiculous. What are we going to do? Ask the sort of parish council of a Turkish village, is it OK if this bloke comes back to you? It just makes no sense.
Altogether, just get rid of it.
Well, I think that's pretty much where the British public are, that ECHR can't be reformed. We've seen an endless procession of Prime Ministers go in, try and shake it up. Clearly hasn't worked. I think the only option now is to leave.
It's not our problem what happens if they go into their prison. They should have thought about that. And what if they reoffend here?
Well, I mean, we're seeing that time and time again, aren't we? We are seeing individuals that have been arrested in the UK, and then we find out, you know, they've got 5, 6, 7, 8 other convictions from European countries and then the country of origin as well. We need to really reorientate the way we view the asylum system. It's not basically the British state extending largesse to every single sort of lost soul from around the world. Otherwise, we will end up sinking below the waves. This is a time when we need to actually have a frank conversation about whether we realise we've done enough. We've done a heck of a lot in recent years, and we need to stop putting a freeze on asylum claims, just blanket, actually, to be perfectly honest, because I think the British taxpayer, look at the explosion that we've seen in the asylum budget from about sort of 500 million in 2019 to, you know, close on 5 billion in recent years. This is a situation that is spiralling out of control, and I really think we have done enough.
Yeah. Just while you're here, Rob, can I ask you about the Crowborough protest? So one of the controversies about the huge number of people coming over illegally is that they're housed in hotels, which has been very unpopular because for safety reasons, but also how expensive it is. The government's solution to this is to put some people into military barracks, but we've seen huge protests about that in Crowborough over the weekend. Do you think military, we're seeing some images now of those protests, I think 500 young men due to be, 600 young men due to be housed close to a small town, fears about public safety disorder.
They don't know where they came from. The people protesting.
Exactly. Do you think this is a short-term solution, potentially, or just as problematic?
Well, I don't see the point of using military barracks if you're not going to use them with barbed wire around the outside with guards. This is the whole sort of point of why they are actually viable long-term when you are starting to round up and sort of detain illegal migrants. It is the fact that they are detained and they're not able to seep into the communities and cause the kind of havoc that we are now seeing pretty much on a daily basis. So, you know, the residents there are absolutely right and perfectly correct to be protesting against this, because it represents a huge risk to what is a small town.
Of course, and they don't know where these people are from, and and we've seen again and again, the majority of them are young men.
Yes, and we know they come predominantly from nationalities that are overrepresented in crime statistics, have very different attitudes towards women and girls, have very different attitudes towards legal system and society in general. And, you know, this idea that they're all going to be able to integrate completely is pie in the sky, because it simply isn't materialising. I don't know what this integration that people keep blabbering on about actually is. It seems to me all it is sort of dodgy old Church of England vicars putting on coffee mornings and occasionally taking to Manfield. There is nothing else that I can decipher that is benefiting the country.
Well put.
Well, thanks.
And if you are a dodgy old Church of England vicar organising, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, some refreshing, frank conversation. Thank you so much, Rob. That was really, really good to hear from you this morning.
Now, instead ahead, do we need harsher penalties for fly tipping? How do we enforce them? As hundreds of tonnes of rubbish is dumped in Oxford. Just look at this image.
And up next, find out why your sweet, delicious, refreshing banana milkshake could be skyrocketing in price, but not for another 2 years.
Before that, though, Holiday Sun, here it is.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After Storm Claudia, conditions will be improving across Portugal and Spain, rain clearing to sunshine, though we are expecting still some showers across parts of the Mediterranean. Nevertheless, on Tuesday across Portugal and Spain there will be plenty of sunshine, but as we drift our way eastwards we are expecting some heavy showers, if not some thunderstorms, across parts of Italy, the Adriatic coastline and also parts of Greece. Still plenty of showers as we head into next week, in between some brighter interludes, but feeling a lot cooler than of late.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
They do say, Oggy, that we are what we eat. Just, looking up and down. But anyway, I mean, during your sporting career, when you was a cricketer, you'd have been a lot slimmer, eating different food probably, a different regime. Tell us about
that. To be fair, wasn't eating a lot of different food, but I was active. I went into the gym, I was on a cricket pitch 5 days out, and you burned the food off, so you didn't have to really watch what you ate. And for the last 12 years, I've been putting things in and not burning them off.
Okay, so, yeah, it's time to take it up. But you're a Yorkshireman. And you play cricket for Yorkshire. It's a great honour for a Yorkshireman, isn't it, to play cricket for his
Massively,
county?
yeah.
Because back in the day, you had to be born in Yorkshire, didn't you, to actually play for Yorkshire?
Yeah, I was born back in Yorkshire. My mum and dad were in Pelsall. We moved back into Yorkshire, so I was born in the county, so I was allowed to play for it. But I was a late bloomer. 18, I wasn't playing for the academy, and I got a Yorkshire contract late on. And it just went really, really quickly.
So how does it work? A lot of young people playing these sports at school and that, they played probably football, rugby and cricket, weren't they? Is that you?
Yeah, so at school, I went to a comprehensive school. I had a choice of football or football.
Yeah.
Wasn't my favourite sport, but I wanted to play sport, so I played football for school, and then in the winter I played rugby for my local rugby club, and then cricket for my local cricket club in the summer.
So when did it really start for you at cricket then? So when did that penny drop that you wanted to be a cricketer?
A big piece of luck. Phil Carrick came into Pudsey Kongs, who was an ex-Yorkshire captain, saw me playing third team and put me in the first team. And so I was 17, 18. He saw something in me. I don't know, because everybody else had overlooked me. I think it's because I swung the ball away.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 10 to 10. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
The Chancellor's going to announce the latest, a milkshake tax in the budget next Wednesday, unless she changes her mind tomorrow, of course.
Well, she hopes that ending the sugar tax exemption on milk-based drinks could raise up to £100 million, but it's a bit of a drop in the ocean compared to the size of the £20 billion black hole. Well, GB News' political correspondent Olivia Utley joins us in the studio. Olivia, lots of people will have breathed a sigh of relief that we're probably not going to see an increase in income tax, but we might lose out on our milkshakes instead.
Yes, so essentially what's happening here is Rachel Reeves discovered last week that the black hole that she was trying to fill is actually slightly smaller than she was expecting, £20 billion black hole. That meant that she decided that she wouldn't need to raise income tax, which which would quite possibly mean the end of the Labour government.
Olivia, can we just stop there? Nobody believes this. Nobody believes a word of this. It's because she could not get it through her parliamentary party. Backbenchers would not wear it. They'd have probably brought down the budget, which would have been the end of the government.
And it sounds as though she was sort of putting the suggestion out there, and it was met with such outrage that she decided to backtrack on it. But she still does have to fill this black hole. That's the language that she uses. And so what she's looking at is a range, a smorgasbord of smaller taxes, one of which would be this tax on milkshakes. Now, I know it sounds ludicrous.
Sorry. Isn't it? It's just laughable.
It's essentially extending the sugar tax, which was introduced by the Conservatives in 2018. Milk-based drinks were exempt because there was a worry that children wouldn't get enough calcium if they couldn't have their milk-based drinks. Now she's thinking of including milk-based drinks. Mel Stride points out that what it's going to do is punish industries which have already, done everything they can, been as responsible as they can. And the sugary drinks industry is furious. They say that they've already reformulated their drinks as much as they possibly can. Don't like the idea of whatever is in those reformulated drinks. It sounds disgusting. And anyway, £100 million, it does feel like a bit of a drop in the ocean.
It's not even peanuts.
It's not even peanuts. Not sure if we're allowed peanuts.
Let's mention it. But it's a sign of how desperate they are in the Treasury, that they are literally reaching around, desperately trying, let's put a tax on that. And that was what was always going to happen when she abandoned the plan to raise income tax.
Yeah, and I think there are going to be people in Labour already sort of suggesting that all of these kind of smorgasbord of taxes points to a lack of vision. It's not, however much one might dislike sin taxes or whatever, you could say that, well, this is the view of this Labour government. Well, here is one sin tax which she seems to be introducing, but there doesn't seem to be a straightforward vision. It's property taxes here, it's sin tax here, it's a tax on inheritance tax. There's no single unifying vision for this Labour government. It's just try and sort of find little bits of money behind the sofa here and there.
And if you raise income tax, let's say, by a penny or 2 pennies, the Treasury has a fairly good idea of how much additional revenue they're going to take. But the problem with these taxes, milkshakes, drive penny per mile on your electric vehicle, all these other things, people change their behaviour and then they don't get as much in as they hope.
And this is an argument which is being made about billionaires leaving the country, of course, and the argument of having a mansion tax, which would sit at about £2 million. Obviously, there are property experts who've been coming to speak to the Treasury Select Committee saying that what's going to happen is that properties will go for £1.9999 million instead, or you have people leaving the country. So as you say, people change their minds, do things differently, and the projected figures that the Treasury put forward turn out to be absolute nonsense.
Who's going to value all these properties, by the way, for these property taxes? There's millions of properties. It's going to take years.
Well, and council tax boundaries are in place. They are decided. The way we pay council tax is decided based on what a house was worth in 1991. They haven't changed those bands since. So, as you say, who's going to go around valuing all of these houses? It's going to take a long time.
An epic task.
Well, it's great news for estate agents, probably.
Yeah, and a lot of people say I don't accept the valuation.
Exactly. Well, Olivia, thank you so much for that update, and hopefully they won't tax everything we enjoy, Andrew.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we want to know if you're suffering from eco-fear, guilt and grief when it comes to climate change. Can I tell you, I categorically am not.
Good. We're pleased to hear it. But lots of people are, apparently, according to a new government report. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's set to be a frosty start to the day, feeling cold, particularly in the brisk winds, and plenty of sunshine, though a good chance that we could see some wintry showers. These mainly around North Sea coasts. These could be quite blustery at times, possibly bringing some sleet and snow, mainly across the high ground of Scotland, but a chance we could see some to the south of this as well, mainly across hills. But for most, it's set to be a dry day, plenty of sunshine and wall-to-wall blue skies, but it is going to feel cold, highs reaching around 8 to 9 degrees Celsius in the south, but in those brisk northerly winds it is set to feel much chillier. Now, to finish off the day, for a time there will be a mix of cloud and also some clear skies across Scotland. So once again, turning chilly, still with some showers around northern and eastern coasts. Some more clouds starting to feed in to Northern Ireland, but elsewhere across northern parts of England, a clear, calm end to the day, and similar elsewhere across England and also Wales. So another chilly night to come, and it's likely that we'll see some frost patches once again. But it will start to cloud over across parts of Scotland. Some further showers starting to push in from the northwest. We do just need to keep an eye on those showers. A good chance that they could bring us in some snow. Not only this, but some quite strong winds as well. So the potential there for some blizzard conditions to start the day on Tuesday. Elsewhere, a little drier, but once again, it is going to be fairly cold with some frost in places. Now, across Scotland, it is set to be a very unsettled day. A chance we could see some quite significant snow accumulations and some gale force winds at times. So blizzard conditions here. Also a much cloudier day with some showers at times. These still could turn wintry across the high ground, but across the far south and southeast, a mostly dry end to the day. Still feeling very cold in the winds, highs reaching 9 to 10 degrees.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for our more than 2 million YouTube subscribers and more than 2 billion views. That is Britain watching, sharing and making its voice heard louder than ever before.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A92 westbound near Red House roundabout is restricted due to a broken down vehicle. The A48M westbound between junctions 29 Castleton and 29A St Mellons is congested. In Doncaster, a collision on the M18 southbound between junctions 4 and 3 has closed lanes. Kent's M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 4 and 2 faces delays. An accident on the M11 southbound between junctions 10 and 9 in Cambridgeshire causes disruption. And on the trains, cross-country faces disruption between Plymouth and Penzance, and Great Western Railway is replacing trains with road transport between Exeter St David's and Barnstaple. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Monday the 17th of November. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
So what do you think the human rights lawyers will think about this?
I will announce the most significant changes to our asylum system in modern times.
The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood tells countries to take back their citizens or face a total visa ban.
Well, already some MPs within our own party have voiced their real concerns about this. There could be a major challenge to the government from within.
And Glasgow is the biggest dispersal area outside of London. We'll be speaking to a councillor who'll talk about the impact huge numbers of asylum seekers have had on the city.
And find out why milkshakes, that's right, milkshakes might be part of the government solution to fill the £20 billion budget black hole facing the Chancellor.
2 police officers came in, I was on a Zoom call just like this, and arrested me, and in the sitting room another pair of officers arrested my partner Rosalind in front of our 3-year-old daughter.
6 police officers arrested Maxie and Rosalind Allen earlier this year for WhatsApp comments made about their daughter's primary school. Well, the police have now paid them £20,000 in damages.
Fly tippers have dumped hundreds of tonnes of waste stacked 10 metres high in a field in Oxfordshire. The removal cost is apparently greater than the entire annual budget of the local district council.
Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office.
It's set to be a frosty start now. Heavy rain will move into northern areas.
Do we have a climate fear addiction? Well, a UK government climate change report warns that what they call eco-fear, eco-anger and eco-grief could be driving Brits to drug abuse.
I can remember that WhatsApp arrest broke. We talked about it on this programme. I couldn't get over that 6 police officers turned up at the door. 6 over some tweets or some messages on social media that somebody in the school thought were a bit hostile. The school should have dealt with it. They're used to dealing with naughty children. Some parents who were upset about something. 6, and they were arrested. They were in a cell for 11 hours. So disproportionate.
It's extraordinary that the school called the police on them.
In the first place.
But there's also some stories in the paper today, in the Telegraph, about schools that have tried to implement bans on mobile phones, and the parents have called the police on the teachers, saying that their children won't be safe if they can't have their mobile phone with them. So there's a general breakdown, isn't it, between home and school, I think, on both sides.
There really is. But £20,000 compensation,
yeah,
good
taxpayers' money.
Good luck to her. That's taxpayers' money, and that's presumably come out of the police budget.
I would imagine so. Fewer arrests made in future, though, maybe.
Exactly.
Well, we'd love to know what you think about that subject and all the other topics we're discussing today, so send your comments and views to
gbnews.com/you'll say, but first here's the news with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom just after 10 o'clock. Well, the top story this hour, the government is pledging to overhaul the UK's asylum system, with sweeping reforms being unveiled this afternoon aimed at making deportations faster and tougher. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will announce plans to rewrite parts of the human rights laws, limit multiple appeals and threaten visa bans on 3 African nations that failed to cooperate on removals. Ministers say the move will restore order and control at Britain's borders, but critics are already calling it another failed deterrence policy. Refugee charities, meanwhile, are warning the reforms echo Rwanda, one in, one out, and smash the gangs, insisting no policy can deter people who are already risking their lives. A couple in Hertfordshire have said police have paid them damages after they were arrested in January for comments made in a parents' WhatsApp group about their daughter's primary school. Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen were held for 11 hours after officers said they needed to investigate claims of harassment and malicious communications. No charges, though, were brought, and the couple now say they're very unhappy with the force, arguing that people under investigation are often given almost no information about why they're being targeted. They warn cases like theirs make it look like police are policing free speech when investigations collapse. Police say organised gangs are using increasingly sophisticated tactics to steal cargo from lorries across the UK, including buying legitimate haulage companies, collecting loads and then disappearing with the goods. The Road Haulage Association says the money is fuelling wider criminal networks, warning thieves are becoming more intelligent and using cybercrime to target high-value items.
Last year, the value of stolen goods jumped by nearly 2/3, even as the number of incidents fell. Assigned criminals now need to slash fewer curtains to know exactly what's worth taking. President Donald Trump has dramatically called on Republicans in the House to vote to release government files on Jeffrey Epstein, a sharp shift from his previous position. He's under growing pressure from within his own party after Democrats began releasing documents referencing Trump and other high-profile figures. Mr. Trump has always denied any link to Epstein's crimes. In a late-night post, he insisted Republicans have nothing to hide, as dozens now signal they're ready to break ranks and back the bill, which is expected to come to a vote tomorrow. The measure appears likely to pass the House, though it's unclear whether it would clear the Senate. Donald Trump says his party has nothing to hide ahead of that vote tomorrow. Here, a breakthrough in Formula One technology could finally fix Britain's notoriously poor train Wi-Fi. A new pilot programme on Great Western Railway will use a hybrid system combining signals from trackside phone masts with low Earth orbit satellites to deliver superfast, far more reliable connections. Engineers say the technique pioneered in F1 to maintain uninterrupted data could transform onboard connectivity nationwide if it succeeds. And a cold weather warning is in effect today, with snow and ice expected as temperatures plunge. The UK Health Security Agency has issued the alert for the East and West Midlands, the North East, North West and Yorkshire, running through to next week. It follows the coldest night since March over the weekend, when temperatures dropped to -7 in the Scottish Highlands. Officials say the freezing conditions could pose risks for vulnerable people, urging the public to check on those who may need support. Those are the 10 o'clock headlines. I'll be back with you shortly. Now, though, it's over to Andrew and Miriam.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK on GB News with Andrew and Miriam.
Well, let's see what you've been saying on gbnews.com/your say. Lots of chat about the new potential asylum rules and also the Crowborough protests. Lindsay said if we turned the camps into detention centres, that would be more acceptable. Len says safe and legal routes will mean we'll be totally inundated with people seeking a new life here. And lots of comments about the milkshake tax, as if Reeves isn't milking us enough. Andrew says. And Jimmy says the sugar tax didn't reduce obesity, it just made soft drinks taste worse. And I've seen that the industry have pointed out this morning that if the sugar tax were to be extended to milk-based drinks, they estimate it would reduce everybody's calorie intake by half a grape a day.
So
it's
what
probably
was the
not
point?
going to help us too much on our waistlines.
No, of course it isn't. It's just she's just desperate to try and find ways to raise some money because the income tax plan is gone. Nothing to do with the black coal is not as big because she'd never have got it through the Parliamentary Party. The rise in income tax. It would have been the first rise in the basic rate of income tax since 1975.
It's true, but in 1975 the basic rate was 30%. It's fallen a lot since then, so can't really go down anymore.
Yeah, but she didn't want that as a political epitaph. So the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, will introduce today, she says, the toughest measures yet on illegal migration. Countries that refuse to take back failed asylum seekers and foreign criminals will face a total visa ban.
Well, joining us now is GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Good morning, Mark. Welcome to the studio. Great headlines for Shabana Mahmood. It certainly looks like she's cracking down on asylum seeking. Do you think the reality is as encouraging?
Well, great headlines because they've been blitzing it out over the last few days. More and more measures that just get leaked to favoured publications and then eventually to everyone else. So the momentum, of course, of covering the story over the weekend, everybody's been talking about it. Do they stand up to the test of time, though? This is the thing, because really what it amounts to is a decision for the government not to pull out of the ECHR, which, remember, the Conservatives now want to do, and, of course, Reform want to do, and I think many people in the country probably think is the kind of radical idea that's required rather than tinkering, but Labour are going with the option of tinkering, trying to make changes to the ECHR and trying to make those changes with potentially a more rebellious Labour Party, because we're already hearing at this early stage a number of MPs coming out. OK, you can say Nadia Whittome and Clive Lewis, the usual suspects, but others will follow, there is no doubt. It will build up a head of steam. I think there will be many in Labour that will feel quite uncomfortable at some of the measures there. So then you're up against relying on the Conservatives to vote with you to get these measures through. But even if they do that, there's no guarantee, given just how big the rebellion could be, because you've got the Lib Dems. Are they going to vote for these changes? Probably not. You know, some of the more controversial changes. There are independent MPs, the SNP and the like. I mean, that in itself adds up to about 100 MPs. The Conservatives have only got 119. If there's a sizable Labour rebellion, it could be very difficult for the government.
But even if they change the law, Mark, the great immigration lawyer bandwagon lobby is going nowhere. They will jump on just about everybody who's going to be deported, and because they'll cite Article 8 or Article 3 of the Human Rights Act, and it will be same old. Now, they're saying that Labour will say there'll only be one appeal, but that could take years.
Well, yeah, as I say, if you can get all those changes through, and it will, we're told, mean that judges have to, you know, give due sort of prominence to basically the UK laws over the ECHR on some matters. But the fact that we'll still have human rights laws in this country, we have, as you just alluded to there, an activist set, be they human rights activists, refugee charities, those human rights lawyers, and don't forget many judges who have a sort of a more sort of liberal leaning in terms of the issues around asylum that are still going to be there, still going to be judging these cases. And if we've been taught anything about the way in which the system, the wraparound care that these asylum seekers get, is in this country above probably any other country, they're well catered for with groups who are now expert in securing the best possible outcome for them. And yeah, you can tinker around the edges with the ECHR and maybe make it just a little bit more problematic, but they'll do a workaround. They will, I'm convinced, do a workaround.
Now, one of the planks of the new plan for Shabana Mahmood is to crack down on visas for countries that refuse to take back asylum seekers, and the countries that she's highlighted are Angola, Namibia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and she's already written to their embassies. But I think only a handful of asylum seekers came from those countries last year. Do you think there's any chance she'll extend it to the bigger offenders?
Yeah, I mean, quite a lot of countries do accept their foreign nationals back. These are some of the outliers that don't. As you say, there's not a huge number. I think people will actually welcome this as a policy, though. You know, why should these countries be extended the right to get visas for their richer members of the population to come and visit and to stay here if they are not willing to take those that they foist upon us, that then go to commit acts of crime that we can't get rid of because they won't take them back. So I think that will be welcome. But you're right, it's not that many that are foreign national offenders from those particular nations, and there are worse offenders.
Just briefly, you talked about opposition from Labour MPs. So Kent, of course, is in the eye of this because they have so many illegal migrants crossing the Channel. The Folkestone Labour MP says they shouldn't be doing this. That is fascinating. He's the Folkestone Labour MP, bang next door to Dover and Deal, where that most of these illegal migrants are crossing the Channel. So he's signalling almost certainly he's going to vote against it. And Folkestone hasn't been Labour, I'm just checking, since the constituency was created in 1950.
And may not be Labour again if he goes down that particular road. Yeah, listen, it's going to be difficult because clearly you've got MPs that are going to weigh up their constituencies. I'm not sure that he particularly is, but you've got to weigh up your constituency and, you know, the base of that constituency. Are they people that are likely to be voting in favour in some more multicultural constituencies around the country, in favour of more sort of asylum-friendly laws as opposed to others, particularly in the Red Wall, who are not going to be voting along those lines. And so I'm sure that will all be, as part of the calculation of the Labour MPs, what they might individually think of the law changes, but what their own constituents are going to make of it as well.
Mark White, thank you very much. I think, Andrew, there was some polling done a couple of years ago and that found that only, I think, 2 constituencies in the entire country, one of which was Bristol West, actually thought that immigration was too low. So the vast majority of constituencies, the majority of opinion will be, please stop the boats. Well, let's cross over to Glasgow now and speak to our Scotland reporter, Tony Maguire. Tony, historically, the SNP has been very much in favour, in theory, of taking asylum seekers, although the numbers don't really, they don't really put their money where their mouth is, do they?
No, that's correct. And, you know, I think it's also worth saying that the SNP puts itself out there as a centre-left party, but in Denmark, really, where these plans hail from, well, their Prime Minister is also centre-left. So, you know, but of course, this immigration policy that Denmark has achieved has been extremely popular, not just among his supporters, but among many in his country. But anyway, enough of that tangent. I'm joined by Glasgow City Council Councillor Thomas Kerr. Glasgow, of course, has been, you know, a real part of the story over the last year. What do you, Glasgow City Council, and I dare say Reform UK, make of Shabana Mahmood's plans?
It's headline grabbing. Like what the Home Secretary's done is what many Home Secretaries have done in the past. She's put out a plan, made it sound really good as if what she's going to try and do. But actually, until you leave DCHR, until you focus on migration properly, she's not going to get this delivered. Already 9 Labour MPs have come out and said that they will vote down these plans. She's in charge of a party that is totally to the left and totally delusional when it comes to the issues of migration. We're standing here in the city that is the asylum capital of Britain. The issue is at breaking point in Glasgow and right across Scotland, and the Home Secretary can say what she wants, but these plans will not get off the ground.
Now, give us a little sense, I guess, of, because of course last year we heard that more than half of the temporary accommodation in Glasgow was filled by asylum seekers, and indeed 1,000 have come to the city over the last year. About a year ago, the monthly average tripled, obviously, as more people wanted to settle in Glasgow. What has been the knock-on effect, you know, in your view, among the services here?
Well, look, in terms of public services, our services are at breaking point. We're not getting enough education places, health places, housing and things as well. But what's actually happening is that there's a breaking point in terms of social cohesion amongst communities. There is a real, you know, sort of this them and us sort of attitude coming because people feel as if they're up against it. So housing is one of the biggest issues. This city declared a housing emergency 2.5 years ago. More than half of our homelessness beds are now given to people who are coming here illegally. That's just not sustainable, and it's why people in Glasgow are so fed up and angry.
And you're right, people on the street, certainly when we've spoke to them over the last year, are extremely fizzed about this situation. They feel kind of powerless, that they don't really have a say in it. Someone that does have a say is Social Justice Secretary Shirley-Ann Somerville. The Scottish Parliament's Social Justice Secretary has said that these moves from Shabana Mahmood, they were going to push more people into poverty, and as a result the SNP are deeply concerned. So, you know, is she right? Is this going to push more people into poverty, do you think?
Well, look, the SNP should be deeply concerned about the hundreds of thousands of children already grown up in poverty under their watch for nearly 2 decades in charge. Shirley-Ann Somerville has a role to play in that. She has been in charge for nearly 20 years. Her concern and her politics that she's playing with this to try and ramp up division between her and Labour is just not on. We really need to try and focus on the migration issue.
Fantastic. Thomas, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. We'll be in Glasgow all day and we'll be kind of testing the temperature of the people here to feel what they think about Shabana Mahmood's plan.
Tony Maguire in Glasgow, thank you very much for that report.
Time now for that part of the programme. It's a British giveaway. Just 2 weeks to get your chance to have a fabulous Christmas on us. Here's how you can win it.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up next, are you worried about climate change? Do you suffer from eco-fear, guilt and grief? Well, you're not alone, because Andrew Pearce shares your fears. We'll be going through all that and more with political commentator Matthew Torbett and former MEP Enunciata Rees-Mogg. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Feet earlier this year as part of the first group to trek the same route as Lawrence of Arabia.
A former Special Forces officer, Howard Leedham, followed in Lawrence's footsteps across Saudi Arabia and Jordan in a 25-day journey. And I'm very happy to say he joins us now. Howard, thank you very much for coming to see us.
Thank you for having me on.
Now, talk us about what you're putting on, having completed that remarkable trek.
Well, we did the trek in January and February, and I was odd enough to lead a team of Special Forces Club members to do the entire route that Lawrence did in 1917. 685 miles, 1,100 kilometres, took us 25 days. We started off with 5 riders, 4 riders made it, and the last 9 days we spent in Jordan. And one of the things that in Saudi, we would basically follow Lawrence's route from water to water and go to the same wells that he had gone, because that's what they had to do, as they worked their way around the Nefed desert. And then, obviously, when they came in towards Aqaba, because the guns in Aqaba all facing towards the sea, yeah. so they had to cross the uncrossable desert to get into the back of Aqaba. And when you come into Jordan, what strikes you is, because of the topography and because of the way that the history is so well recorded in that area, is that you can basically follow almost the precise route that he followed, and basically sleep in the same places that he slept. So you can really feel what they were doing and how they tactically moved down in order to take the port of Aqaba.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's 24 minutes past 10. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
And we've got our panel, Head of Comms at Popular Conservative, Enunciata Rees-Mogg. You haven't been here for a while, where have you been? And the political commentator, Matthew Torbett. Now, are you
Can't get rid of me.
Are you kept awake at night by eco-terror? Waking up in cold sweats?
Couldn't be more frightened, but I think it is extraordinary that an organisation funded by the British taxpayer that is meant to look at the spread of infectious diseases and how to prevent it has decided that being a bit afraid of climate change and that leading to you taking drugs is some kind of infectious disease. It's quite clearly not.
This is an organisation called the UK Health Security Agency. Do we need one?
I suspect not. I think it would come under all sorts of other things and is covered anyway.
Yeah.
It gets over £300 million a year in funding. It's what Public Health England was. So they do have a serious role in things like controlling infectious diseases. They have a serious job as well, but I think they're kind of branching out a little bit. They clearly don't have enough to do if they're doing this. And what we could do to stop people being so alarmed by climate change is stop our government bodies being so alarmist about it. That when you've got schools and universities ramming it down students' throats that we should be terrified of the biggest catastrophe that's going to happen to mankind, it's going to worry people. And it's particularly going to worry young minds. But we've also got the BBC that relentlessly, any programme it can possibly get something about climate change in about, it does. And very especially the programmes aimed at children, such as Newsroom, which schools then make children watch, and it scares them. I think that's a good point, Matthew.
I think the children thing, I get it. I think there's a way to frame it to not seem as scary if we're going to try and look after the planet. When I was at school, you'd be told about the idea of composting and recycling and all this sort of stuff. I think that's fair enough. You should look after the planet. This is obviously bizarre. But I can't relate in some ways, but I get the feeling of a lack of control in your life and the fact that it'll be awful. What I would say is, and actually it can feel a little bit like the doomsday clock, the idea that you've got to do it by 2030 or 2040 and 1.5% the levels and this, that and the other and the temperature. It used to get me a little bit, I wouldn't say anxious, but you'd go like, are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? And it has you a bit on edge. What I can say to people at home is it's just great letting go and forgetting about it. I am resigned to the fact that we're all going to be underwater or on fire anyway, so you just got to crack on with what's happening today.
I've looked up the charts that Ed Miliband so loves about us all flooding, and my house is has a nice beachside view. I'm 7 miles inland, but it has a nice beachside view by 2030. It's not actually seeming hugely realistic, and I'm not going to get too worried and go out and buy a boat, although I hear there's a lot going spare in Dover. But what this ridiculous agency has suggested to cure this is not to prevent people being worried. It's that they take up activism to help cure their anxiety. Well, this is ridiculous. Yes, you need personal agency, but why not have agency over things you can control, which does not include how much pollution China gives out?
But what evidence have they got that people who are so concerned about the creeping threat of climate change turning to drugs, illegal? What evidence do they have?
They say it can be linked. I mean, it's as weak as you get.
It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, the story obviously is nonsense. It's a bit of a stretch to blame your drug addiction on climate fears. But just going back to what Matthew was saying about this kind of creeping sense of anxiety, and I think, you know, we are telling our children at a very young age that the climate's going to end, that the polar bears are going to die out, that their mental health is going to be terrible. Is this kind of catastrophism that we used to protect children from? It's not their responsibility to save the world. That's an adult concern. And yet now schools are training them to be activists by telling them very young that the world's going to die if they don't do something about it. It's not good for their mental health, surely.
No, it probably. And, well, a lot of it, listen, I know it's easy to blame it for everything, but the younger kids have phones, push notifications and that sort of thing. There is I've seen it with my sister, who's 10 years younger than me. The constant negativity that comes out of the news because it sells copy and whatever else. I think kids being activists, you know, as a lefty liberal, I'll be a little bit more relaxed on that. I think holding governments of any stripes is a good thing, and knowing that you can challenge them. And maybe it's a knowledge thing. My mum and dad wouldn't have taught me about climate change because they wouldn't have had a clue. What they would say is, put your rubbish in the bin.
Yes.
So I suppose there's different levels of it, I suppose.
And that's where you give children agency, that there are things they can control, and there are things that they can't. And those things that they can't, that it certainly include international CO2 levels,
they shouldn't be even asked to worry about.
I tell you what, though, if you sent a load of kids to COP rather than the world leaders, we'd probably get some stuff done, in fairness. Maybe there's something in kids being activists and feeling emboldened to make a change.
Shall we move on to a different story? And LBC Online had a piece about Farage. The business secretary, Peter Kyle, has said that Farage is today's incarnation of the politics of Enoch Powell. What do you think about that, Nunziata?
Well, when you've run out of arguments, you resort to personal insults.
That's what Mrs. Thatcher always said, didn't she?
Absolutely, and as always with the great lady, she was absolutely right. This is pathetic. It's completely untrue. He's compared him to the National Front. It couldn't be more distant. The National Front never got 33% in the polls.
No.
Nigel Farage is a mainstream politician, and trying to paint him as anything else is just not credible.
But one of the things Shabana Mahmood has said, she's not compared Farage to Enoch Powell, but she said that actually if we don't get a grip on immigration, if we don't have stronger borders, then the far right and the dark side of politics will rise up. Do you think this is a common view in the Labour Party?
I don't know if it's a common view. I think there's something to be said for that. Look, Peter Kyle, less said the better in a way, but it will play well in Hove, in his seat. It will play well to a room full of Labour people. It's clearly the direction of travel that lots of the Cabinet have been told this is what we're going to do. We're going to go on an anti-reform vote, call them racist and whatever else. I do think, however, and I know this isn't what Peter Kyle was saying, but if we were to say, oh, Farage is like Enoch Powell, Enoch Powell also had concerns over abortion. Enoch Powell had believed that law and order was tied to citizenship and sovereignty. There's many, actually, he was anti-Keynesian economics. So there are many similarities if we were to really split hairs. I think my greater concern is, look, Nigel Farage for me is an old-school Thatcherite. That's why I don't like his politics. I think to lump him in with the BNP, and if I was to give Nigel Farage credit, rooted out many of the BNP and National Front types from UKIP because he didn't like that sort of politics.
Right.
Maybe he skirted around the edges, I would say, so on certain issues and certain things I would find unpalatable. I just think it's bad. And also, what the problem is, people take it very personally. The voter base then go, so you're calling me a racist then? And therefore, you're never gaining the people back. Call it out where appropriate, absolutely. Yeah. But I think you're missing the point on this a little bit. Well, who knows? He might be talking about his anti-EU views and abortion views, you know?
I mean, let's face it, Labour are terrified of reform. There was a poll of polls out this weekend that showed in Manchester, Labour will lose 20 of its seats to reform.
I'm going to open up a word.
They are running scared, and if the only form of defence they've got is personal attack, they're on a losing wicket.
They are.
I also just think as well, we should be shouting about the good we're doing, which obviously we're not doing a lot of shouting because there's not a lot of good, it seems. No. But negative campaigns rarely win. We've seen it with Brexit. We've seen it as long as it is. Anti-Trump campaigns. You've got to talk about the stuff you want to do, which actually, arguably, is not for me, but you look at the stuff Zach Polanski's doing, talking about hope and the appeal that Corbyn had. Any of it's realistic, totally another story, but the idea of grasping people and going, we could do better than this, is more successful than he's horrible, don't vote for him.
All right, you two, you'll be back in an hour. We're going to go to our 60-second news update now with Sam Francis.
Very good morning, 10:32. The top story this hour. The government is set to rewrite parts of the Human Rights Act, aiming to make it easier to deport illegal migrants. The Home Secretary will unveil the overhaul in Parliament this afternoon. But refugee groups say it's just another plan that won't work and warn that no deterrent can outweigh the risks people already take to flee. A couple from Hertfordshire arrested for comments on a school WhatsApp group say police have paid them £20,000 in damages. Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen say they were held for 11 hours and accused the force of policing free speech. Officers had been investigating claims of harassment. President Trump is calling on Republicans to release secret files on Jeffrey Epstein, a U-turn from his earlier position. He says his party has nothing to hide ahead of a congressional vote expected tomorrow. And Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced to death. She's been found guilty of ordering last year's crackdown on student protests, where the UN says up to 14,000 people were killed. Security has been tightened across Bangladesh this morning, with protests already breaking out. And snuggle up, a cold weather alert's now in force across much of England as snow and ice hit. The Highlands dropped to -7 overnight. That's the UK's coldest night since March. Those are the latest headlines for now. A full roundup from me in half an hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Well, coming up next, which camp do you sit in? Just one smack can scar a child for life, or smacking isn't harmful, it's good for teaching discipline? We'll be debating that next. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's set to be a frosty start to the day, feeling cold, particularly in the brisk winds, and plenty of sunshine, though a good chance that we could see some wintry showers. These mainly around North Sea coasts. These could be quite blustery at times, possibly bringing some sleet and snow, mainly across the high ground of Scotland, but a chance we could see some to the south of this as well, mainly across hills. But for most, it's set to be a dry day, plenty of sunshine and wall-to-wall blue skies, but it is going to feel cold, highs reaching around 8 to 9 degrees Celsius in the south, but in those brisk northerly winds it is set to feel much chillier. Now, to finish off the day, for a time there will be a mix of cloud and also some clear skies across Scotland. So once again, turning chilly, still with some showers around northern and eastern coasts. Some more clouds starting to feed in to Northern Ireland, but elsewhere across northern parts of England, a clear, calm end to the day, and similar elsewhere across England and also Wales. So another chilly night to come, and it's likely that we'll see some frost patches once again. But it will start to cloud over across parts of Scotland. Some further showers starting to push in from the northwest. We do just need to keep an eye on those showers. A good chance that they could bring us in some snow. Not only this, but some quite strong winds as well. So the potential there for some blizzard conditions to start the day on Tuesday. Elsewhere, a little drier, but once again, it is going to be fairly cold with some frost in places. Now, across Scotland, it is set to be a very unsettled day. A chance we could see some quite significant snow accumulations and some gale force winds at times. So blizzard conditions here. Also a much cloudier day with some showers at times. These still could turn wintry across the high ground, but across the far south and southeast, a mostly dry end to the day. Still feeling very cold in the winds, highs reaching 9 to 10 degrees.
Thank you, Britain, for sharing over 5 million comments on your say. Because when you talk, we listen.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Roads across the UK are congested today. On the A1 North near Gateshead, a broken-down vehicle closes 2 lanes. The M60 near Bury faces congestion anti-clockwise between junctions 21 and 18, causing delays. Expect congestion on the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 4 and 2 in Kent. A permanent 7.5-tonne restriction applies to heavy goods vehicles on the M48. And on the trains, cross-country services between Truro and Penzance are disrupted, as well as East Midlands railway services between Bedford and London St Pancras International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's 22 minutes to 11. Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom.
Well, the Christian Institute's challenging long-standing claims that mild smacking harms children, arguing the evidence simply doesn't stack up. Is it wrong to smack your child? What do you think?
Oh, this always comes round, doesn't it? Because the Scots and the Welsh have banned smacking, and on the face of it, you can say, well...
Well, they made it a criminal offence.
Yeah, exactly.
Outrageous.
Oh, well, of course you shouldn't hit your children. But the point is, if you take away a parent's rights to discipline a child in their own way and to have authority over their children, then what do you really think is going to happen? And also, parents who use smacking sparingly and, like, let's say when their child is about to be in danger, a toddler's about to run across the road, something like that, will then clog up the child protection courts. and the authorities won't be looking into the evidence of actual child abuse. And of course, we've seen all too recently with Sarah Sharif, with all these other cases, that actual child abuse is really happening in this country. We're not doing enough about it.
But, I mean, it's the state coming into your home in an unacceptable way, isn't it? We were smacked as kids.
Yeah.
I was smacked quite a lot, actually.
Were you very naughty?
I had my moments. And I think it was pretty common at school. Most people did, and I don't know if my siblings smacked their kids. I don't know. I mean, I guess if they thought they needed to, they would.
Yeah. But it's already illegal to hit a child hard enough to leave a mark, or that it's anything more than a reasonable reprimand. So the kinds of images that we think of when we think of child abuse are already illegal. And you were saying before that the break, Andrew, one of the people who's supporting this is the actor Sir Michael Caine.
Yeah.
And the memory he had that has compelled him to support this ban is that he was locked up in a cupboard for 3 days as a child. Well, that's illegal already.
And that's much worse anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, parents already, I think, suffer from not really understanding the authority they have or should have over their children. This is just going to be another nail in the coffin.
But also, it's unenforceable. How many people have been prosecuted in Scotland since the ban came in?
I don't know, actually.
I bet not one, and it's because politicians are just... It makes them feel better. Let's talk to the sociologist at the University of Kent, Dr Ashley Frawley. Dr Frawley, good morning to you. It sounds a good idea, stop parents smacking their kids, but I don't know how the state ever will enforce it. But also, isn't it up to mum or dad to know how to discipline their child?
Well, the first indicator of a not great law is that if it was enforced, it would be a horrible thing. I think as a civilized society, the last thing that we want is for the police to show up at your door, sort of knock, 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 we're here to check your parenting style. I don't really want that to be added to the ever-lengthening list of police call-outs that doesn't include things like burglary. So that's the first thing. And the other is that the claims that are made around smacking are based on a really poor evidence base that is tries to treat correlations as causal relationships. But you simply can't do that. You can't isolate one practice that a parent might do and connect that to a huge range of outcomes, sometimes 5, 10, 20 years down the road, as people try to do. There are all sorts of confounding factors. And in fact, one of the most powerful determinants of child outcomes is parental warmth. If you have a strong, warm relationship with your child. And in fact, studies show that parents who use light smacks, but also have a warm relationship with their child, who set clear boundaries, have some of the best outcomes. So the evidence base doesn't even show that. And it actually accords with what a lot of our experience is, just our common sense. When people say, I was smacked as a child and it did me no harm. And the advocates will say, well, you have sort of deep internal problems you haven't reckoned with, which is the mark of a pseudoscience because it's unfalsifiable. Even if you say, no, my parents were good parents, they're not criminal child abusers, they'll go, well, they were in ways that you just don't recognize yet.
Well, we're now joined as well by parenting and youth expert Kalini Kent. She's a sociologist, and we've still got Ashley on the line. So, Kalini, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Surely these claims that smacking are harmful are completely impossible to prove, as Ashley has said. I mean, everybody over the age of 40, let's say, probably would have had a light smacking as a child. So how do you decide whether or not it's the cause of harm?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. First of all, I would say there are a lot of statistics, and we must note that this isn't a ban on smacking. What this is doing is actually the campaign by the NSPCC and others is actually to make sure that children have got equal rights. Because whilst there is a defence of reasonable chastisement, it doesn't protect that minority of children, whether it's one child or 10 children, who is actually then the smacking gets escalated and it gets worse. The other thing to point out is things like statistics like over 300% increase in contacts to the NSPCC helpline. In 2024, triple the amount of calls were actually surrounding children, other adults reporting children, and then also a high proportion of that were the children themselves calling in and saying they were being...
Hang on a minute, do you not think that a reason for such a big increase could be the fact that all children now have phones, whereas 10, 15 years ago they didn't? I mean, that's a fairly obvious reason for an increase in contacts to any helpline or website, isn't it?
That's fair enough. But I would say, though, is that whether it's 1, 2 or 3, where do we draw the line and say that's not enough to justify? What we're saying is that adults, if somebody hits another person, it's assault. That child, what we're saying is that children who were harmed in a much more extreme way are actually not protected. That's all we're saying.
But extreme harm is already illegal. You can't leave a mark. It can't be any more than reasonable chastisement. The kind of excessive physical punishment you're talking about is illegal.
This is how they make that argument, by eliding the two. They intentionally put forward confusion around this. The fact of the matter is some parents will use a light smack for the purposes of discipline. That is currently recognized in the law as reasonable chastisement. Anything more than that is already illegal. And if you make reasonable chastisement illegal, you then bring in a huge range of additional problems. We know that being put in care has negative outcomes. We know a parent that has been charged with a crime produces negative outcomes. We don't know that a light smack causes harm down the line. And in fact, as I've said, being in a stable family, having parental warmth, these things actually produce the best outcomes. In fact, if you want to look at bad outcomes, having an unstable family, having a mother with depression produces more negative outcomes than smacking. So are we going to arrest depressed parents? Are we going to arrest parents who have unstable relationships? Perhaps instead of criminalizing families, we should support families to be stable, have good jobs, and to have a warm and calm family life.
Can I just say, though, in answer to that, though, please, may I just stress the point? We are not talking about just physical harm. We are talking about mental harm, and we're talking about children. If you, for example, the person who's your caregiver and the person who you love, imagine you're that child, and that person, you're in fear of them hitting you. And it has been proven that behavior can escalate. It leads to the child themselves developing behaviors that are learned, which are aggressive and violent. It also has been proven that there are better.
It has been proven.
It has been
not.
proven.
It has not been proven. The vast majority of people around the world have been smacked as children. The vast majority of people around the world are decent, law-abiding citizens. The claim that you're making right now has the outcome of saying, and this is actually said, UNICEF says that 70 to 90% of children in Africa are victims of abuse at the hands of their parents. Why? Because their parents use corporal punishment. You would never say that whatever it is, 70 to 90% of African parents Africans are violent criminals. You would never say that. You can say it in relation to them as parents, and suddenly it's fine.
But why would you? Is that justifiable then? Is that justifiable when there are better alternative ways of managing behaviour? There are better ways of teaching that child, because what happens is that child gets stressed, they develops symptoms of anxiety, the emotional dysregulation. It leads to so many other factors that are harmful, and it's been proven.
Galini, actually, I'm so sorry. We are going to have to leave it there. I would say, though, that the evidence before us is that people are not brought up in as disciplined a way as they used to be.
No.
Whatever's happening now is not effective as what it was.
Because they're not smacking the kids.
Maybe that's it, Andrew. I also think that this child's rights agenda is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Children can't have rights. They have to be protected, and you can't have both.
Their rights are given to them by their parents.
Exactly.
Now, up next, it's a shocker, this. A 150-metre-long pile of fly-tip waste has been dumped in a field in Oxfordshire over a period of 2 months. What were the council doing? But how do we prevent it in the first place?
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of our top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
After Storm Claudia, conditions will be improving across Portugal and Spain, rain clearing to sunshine, though we are expecting still some showers across parts of the Mediterranean. Nevertheless, on Tuesday across Portugal and Spain there will be plenty of sunshine, but as we drift our way eastwards we are expecting some heavy showers, if not some thunderstorms, across parts of Italy, the Adriatic coastline and also parts of Greece. Still plenty of showers as we head into next week, in between some brighter interludes, but feeling a lot cooler than of late.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
It's 9 minutes to 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Well, a massive fly-tipping scandal has hit rural Oxfordshire, where a 20-foot ton of plastic foam and wood stretching the length of almost 2 football pitches has been illegally dumped just metres from the River Cherwell by a really busy road. Yeah. So we're going to talk now to the founders of Friends of the Thames, Laura Reneke. Laura, I hope I pronounced your surname correctly. Good morning to you. Have we got Laura? Laura, is that the tip behind you?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Can I ask you an obvious question? Does it stink to high heaven?
It doesn't smell great, it has to be said. I mean, what we have to say, this isn't just your average fly tipping. This has been partially processed as if it's about to go to incineration. It's landfill type waste that's been dumped. And I've got my feet actually in the River Cherwell here, right here. And the leaching of all the chemicals from this waste is going directly into our waterways.
Oh,
and this
dear.
just proves exactly why we need properly funded environmental protections. The Environment Agency have actually known about this already for 2 months, and they've done nothing so far that we can see to protect the river.
Guys, I wanted to push you on that, because when we've woken up to these photographs in our newspapers and on TV, and I thought, that didn't happen overnight. That must have been being built up over a period of time. I mean, look at it.
So what we've done with our research has discovered that back in June, the site was cleared, ready for this. So it's been basically between July and September the 10th when it was reported to the Environment Agency that this is built up.
And can you describe for our radio listeners particularly exactly what you're looking at, what you can see?
So beautiful blue sky, beautiful day. Don't know how to describe it. It is literally a mountain of stinking waste that has been partially shredded and piled meticulously, I may say so, in a strip of land between the River Cherwell and the dual carriageway.
Gosh. And what are the plans for clean-up, if there are any, very briefly?
Well, we know that the Environment Agency have opened a case for it, but there are no signs of any clean-up happening. So we are... we'd like to work with them, actually, and the police on how to get this funded immediately and the clean-up started, because what we need to see is some protection put in for the river as a matter of urgency.
Laura, I'm so sorry we are out of time, but thank you so much for joining us live from that appalling location.
Prisoners on community service orders should clear that up.
Absolutely.
That's
well,
the way
the
to do
environment, they should. Environment Minister Mary Cray said the government had inherited a failing waste industry that has caused an epidemic of illegal fly tipping.
It's the Tories' fault again. Who'd have thought it?
Coming up.
The Reform UK's Deputy Leader Richard Title updated on how they are cutting costs in the 12 councils they won last.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's set to be a frosty start to the day, feeling cold, particularly in the brisk winds, and plenty of sunshine, though a good chance that we could see some wintry showers. These mainly around North Sea coasts. These could be quite blustery at times, possibly bringing some sleet and snow, mainly across the high ground of Scotland, but a chance we could see some to the south of this as well, mainly across hills. But for most, it's set to be a dry day, plenty of sunshine and wall-to-wall blue skies, but it is going to feel cold, highs reaching around 8 to 9 degrees Celsius in the south, but in those brisk northerly winds it is set to feel much chillier. Now, to finish off the day, for a time there will be a mix of cloud and also some clear skies across Scotland. So once again, turning chilly, still with some showers around northern and eastern coasts. Some more clouds starting to feed in to Northern Ireland, but elsewhere across northern parts of England, a clear, calm end to the day, and similar elsewhere across England and also Wales. So another chilly night to come, and it's likely that we'll see some frost patches once again. But it will start to cloud over across parts of Scotland. Some further showers starting to push in from the northwest. We do just need to keep an eye on those showers. A good chance that they could bring us in some snow. Not only this, but some quite strong winds as well. So the potential there for some blizzard conditions to start the day on Tuesday. Elsewhere, a little drier, but once again, it is going to be fairly cold with some frost in places. Now, across Scotland, it is set to be a very unsettled day. A chance we could see some quite significant snow accumulations and some gale force winds at times. So blizzard conditions here. Also a much cloudier day with some showers at times. These still could turn wintry across the high ground, but across the far south and southeast, a mostly dry end to the day. Still feeling very cold in the winds, highs reaching 9 to 10 degrees.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's 11 o'clock on Monday, the 17th of November, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, human rights lawyers beware, because Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood tells countries to take back their citizens or face a total visa ban.
But the toughest opposition from Labour may come from within their own party.
Any moment now, Reform UK's Deputy Leader Richard Tice will update on the effectiveness of Doge in the 12 councils that Reform runs.
The humble milkshake is going to be taxed by the Chancellor to help fill the £20 billion budget black hole.
2 police officers came in. I was on a Zoom call just like this and arrested me. And in the sitting room, another pair of officers arrested my partner, Rosalind, in front of our 3-year-old daughter.
Well, 6 police officers arrested Maxie and Rosalind Allen earlier this year for WhatsApp comments made about their daughter's primary school. Well, the police have now paid them £20,000 in damages.
Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office.
It's set to be a frosty start now. Heavy rain will move into northern areas.
Climate fear addiction. A UK government climate change report warns that what they call eco-fear, eco-anger and eco-grief could drive Brits to drug abuse. Seriously.
Well, fly tippers have dumped hundreds of tonnes of waste stacked 10 metres high in a field in Oxfordshire, and the removal cost is greater than the entire annual budget of the local district council. Fly tipping like that doesn't often make the news, but it is an incredibly serious problem. And I know when I was an MP working with local councils, the number of times they have to clean up this stuff, sometimes dangerous materials. Occasionally they do prosecute people. People throw away receipts that can be traced back to their credit card, but often it just goes unpunished.
But the sheer quantity of waste there, Miriam, makes it look to me like that it's a criminal conspiracy, actually. Some criminals have put it there. They've been paid money and they've dumped it. I mean, and why did it take so long for it to become an issue? When did the local council find out? When did the Environment Agency? They must have known for weeks.
And as our guest was saying from one of the local community groups just before the break, there's no sign of any clear-up. They've registered it, the Environmental Agency are looking into it, but they're very worried about dangerous chemicals leaking to the river and all those kinds of other things.
Don't forget, they've still got a bin strike in Birmingham.
Oh, yes.
That started in March. So, God help them in Oxfordshire.
Maybe that's where the rubbish has come from. Who knows?
As ever, we'd like to know what you think, so send your views and post your comments too.
gbnews.com/yoursay. But first, here's the news with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. 3 minutes past 11. The top story this hour. The government is pledging to overhaul the UK's asylum system, with sweeping reforms being unveiled this afternoon aimed at making deportations faster and tougher. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will announce the plans to rewrite parts of human rights laws, limit multiple appeals and threaten visa bans on 3 African nations that failed to cooperate on removals. Ministers say the move will restore order and control at Britain's borders, but critics are already calling it another failed deterrence policy. Refugee charities are warning the reforms echo Rwanda, one in, one out, and smash the gangs, insisting that no policy can deter people who are already risking their lives. A couple in Hertfordshire have said police have paid them damages after they were arrested in January for comments made in a parents' WhatsApp group about their daughter's primary school. Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen were held for 11 hours after officers said they needed to investigate claims of harassment and malicious communications. No charges were brought, and the couple now say they're unhappy with the force, arguing that people under investigation are often given almost no information about why they're being targeted. They're warning that cases like theirs make it look like police are policing free speech when their investigations have collapsed. Police say organised gangs are using increasingly sophisticated tactics to steal cargo from lorries across the UK, including buying legitimate haulage companies, collecting the loads and then disappearing with the goods. The Road Haulage Association says the money is fuelling wider criminal networks, warning thieves are becoming more intelligent and using cybercrime to target high-value items. Last year, the value of stolen goods jumped by nearly 2/3, even as the number of incidents fell, a sign that criminals now need to slash fewer curtains to know exactly what's worth taking. Well, let's pull away from that story, take you live now to Westminster, where the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, is making a speech.
It's a bit wet and a bit soft because the establishment referee hasn't blown it up properly. But we're pushing on. And already after just 12 minutes, we're in the lead. And it's fair to say that the opposition can't quite believe it. Yes, we've had a couple of slips on the soggy pitch. We've had a couple of missed tackles. But actually, we're leading well. In fact, it's a high-scoring game so far. We've scored 55. And our opponents, a slightly strange coalition of Labour and the Conservatives, they've scored 29. And we've peaked last week. Well, I hope we haven't peaked, but we've made great progress with a record win just last Thursday, where we secured almost 66% of the vote in a council by-election in my constituency of Boston and Skegness. Not that I'm biased. But I think that's a sign that we appreciate the enormous interest from the enthusiastic press who've been baying from the sidelines of the pitch, led by those political gurus, Gary Lineker and Gary Neville. But actually you can see how this scrutiny, this accountability, we've got no problems with that. We welcome it, as Stephen indicated earlier. We said when we campaigned for these elections that we would stand on a platform of saving money, cutting waste, and identifying major issues. And today I'm going to be pretty candid with you. About 1 in 5 of all councils, not ours, but of all councils, are in extreme financial support. Within 4 or 5 years, almost 50% of councils will be basically bankrupt, where essentially their deficits are greater than their reserves. The direction of travel is very bad indeed. It doesn't need to be this way, but fundamental change is required. And what we're identifying is, yes, we can save money in numerous areas, but there are other areas where actually there is a change of regulations and statutes that are required. And if this government doesn't do it, then a reform government, after the next general election, will urgently bring in major reforms to local government in order to achieve this. Now, you recall a couple of months ago, I gave a press conference about what we've identified with regard to the local government pension schemes, where we have discovered, nobody else had previously, significant overcharging to a factor of at least 5 and massive underperformance. And I think it's fair to say since then, the investment management industry is a little bit grumpy with me. That's fine. But also, the numbers, the underperformance to the 5 years to March 25 are even worse than we feared. Just in our councils alone, the underperformance relative to the benchmark that I set, £2 billion every year for the last 5 years. This is the big one. This is the most significant sum of money of everything that we are looking at just across our councils. And that's why we're taking it incredibly seriously. We've also got genuine concerns about what's going on with some of the consultants and also the valuers, the people doing the actuarial valuations. Frankly, they should be done every year, not every 3 years. But what we've discovered is a concern, a genuine concern, that some of these valuers are deliberately overvaluing the future liabilities and undervaluing the future assets in order to keep the employer contributions unnecessarily high. The cynic might say, that's very nice, that keeps the assets under management higher, that keeps the fees higher. So we're going to keep challenging and keep pushing, because if we get the employer contributions right, and when we discover that in one council that's adopted a very similar policy to our plans, their employer contributions now are almost zero. And when we discover that another very well-run council pension fund, I talked about getting fees down to 10, 11 basis points, to discover that actually one is doing better that down at 4 or 5, why on earth the investment management industry thinks it's acceptable to justify 50 basis points or half of 1%, that beats me. So pensions is a huge one, and we are addressing that very, very seriously. Now, the second item I want to cover is the savings that we've got stuck into. And some of you have reported this morning, we've identified and starting to achieve savings of well over £300 million that we've identified and secured so far. Now, some of those are into the future, some of them are quite long, and I personally have been involved in a couple of those negotiations. We said we didn't accept one of the waste contracts that was proposed, despite the recommendations from officers, and a few weeks later we've secured a long-term reduction of over £70 million. Being a real estate guy, I'm taking particular interest in some of the property stuff, and when our councillors are being essentially sort of gently bullied by officers to say you've got to do this property deal, which could cost 30, 40, 50 million quid, and they gave me a buzz and I went rushed up to look at it, I said under no circumstances should you do that deal. That's the sort of real world, real experience that we are bringing to this space. Whether it's IT contracts that don't need to have 11-year notice periods when you could achieve 3 to 6 month notice periods and the like. We're making major renegotiations as contracts come up for renewal. Potholes are incredibly important. 136,000 potholes later, we're very pleased with progress. And that has a real impact, for example, on reducing the claims that councils are starting to pay. So we're making good progress, but there's a huge amount more to do. Some councils have resurfaced or repatched 500,000 square metres of roads and paths. So we are making significant progress. And we're discovering stuff all the time. When we discover that some charities and community interest companies almost have like a free range as to draw down under some framework agreement, 500,000 here, 1 million there, with almost no accountability, no approval process, no responsibility, we're saying, what's going on? Stop. Which brings you on to a thing called delegated powers. We're finding some officers, they have these large delegated powers, £1 million plus, and they sort of view councillors as like cherries on the cake, just be sort of waved at and patted on the head occasionally. That is not acceptable. We are negotiating hard on behalf of the taxpayer. And the third key item I want to raise this morning is the really important and difficult issue of SEND, special educational needs and disabilities for children. This is actually, it goes to the core of who we are, and actually for me, it's also quite personal. A very dear friend of mine who had not one but 2 children in a wheelchair, the struggles that he had and his wife to secure the provision that they obviously needed was extraordinary. And in my own extended family, young lad at primary school, told he would need a bit of extra support, and he got that at school. He was never going to be an Oxbridge candidate. Didn't go to uni, done brilliantly, fantastic job, doing well. To be told by a psychologist in your early 20s that you've got a problem, that you're labelled, that you need to take medication is frankly, and that medication might be for the long term, I think that's outrageous. And what is going on is that Send is in crisis. And I've been specifically asked by council officers, directors of services, to tell it as it is. We all want the very best provision for the most deserving. I reiterate that absolutely. But there is a crisis of overdiagnosis of children with neurodiverse issues. And you can come up with all sorts of new labels. But when you hear that EHCPs, educational health and care plans, are 3 times the level they were 8 to 10 years ago, and that they're increasing in many councils now by between 8 to 10% a year, you say, hang on, our beloved children, they are not 10% more in need every single year. Basic common sense tells you that. So you say, what is going on? What is going on here with this overdiagnosis? And there's a whole bunch of factors. But the state and all of us, we're all suffering. In a sense, we're being sort of, in inverted commas, we've been given a bad deal. But the people who suffer the most are the children. Since the Children and Families Act 2014, well-intentioned, we've no doubt, outcomes have got worse, in particular for the most needy. Think about that. 10 billion a year and counting and rising, and yet outcomes are getting worse. And you get a situation where, in a sense, you've got taxi firms making off like bandits. I discovered a taxi firm, not in one of our councils, with a 4.2 million contract and only 10 drivers, apparently. Nice work if you can get it. Or they're not telling the truth. When you've got educational therapists and psychologists, they're doing so much reviews and assessments and reports, they actually haven't got time to do the intervention and the thought and the support and the therapy. That's coming from the Association of Directors of Children's Services. You know, this is seriously going wrong. And the government has announced...
Well, that's Richard Tice there at a press conference talking about saving council money and also the amount of money spent on children's mental health needs, which is rocketing every year.
Dry stuff, isn't it?
It's turgid.
Well, that was a word. That's quite a good word.
That was turgid.
It's not box office, is it, Matthew?
You need to, if you're going to talk about local authorities and charities, tell us the examples.
Yes. Well, actually, the one positive out of it is I think I found it more powerful when he spoke of his personal stories about his extended family. I think that stuff always is quite good at cutting through. I said to you, that is the sort of presentation you would give to the city, not to people, you know, in a room that are reformed people. I also think they've missed a trick. We're like a week out from the budget. Why are you not putting forward an alternative budget to grab people's... This will not get headlines tomorrow. No. Why don't you go out and go, there's a £30 billion black hole tomorrow, this is how we'd fit it. If you want to be taken seriously economically.
Well, I mean, I think to counter that, one of their problems is that they do so often go after headlines and then they can't fulfil it. And if it, you know, a lot of that was Kent-focused, but Lincolnshire, the reform run... Well, he's my local MP, they run the council at county level and have got the mayor. And none of these savings have materialised. The Doge hasn't even visited yet. And you might get the headlines and you might put forward the ideas, but unless you can deliver, you're not serving
Just
your
remind people what the Doge means. It's based on Elon Musk and
Trump and cutting government waste, Department of Government Efficiency, which is quite grand when you're talking about local councils. Yeah. But they've got a group that zooms into councils to identify this waste. And, I mean, some of the first announcements they made about Lincolnshire, like, we're going to cut all jobs in DEI. Well, it turned out there are no jobs in DEI in Lincolnshire. So, although that was an election platform, it wasn't something they could deliver.
But what Richard
didn't
Tice was
exist.
saying there was that they've gone into these local authorities and they've realised that actually councils have very little control over a lot of spending.
Absolutely.
Because so much of it is statutory, and that a reformed government would therefore change the statutes, change the regulations to allow councils to have more autonomy.
Indeed, and I think that the dryness, dare we call it the dullness of that speech, was to emphasise that they are taking things seriously, that they are getting on top of the detail, and that is very important, that people need to think that reform really understand how things work and what can be done,
And
what's realistic.
They have talked about pensions in local government, and that is a big issue. As it is in central government.
Yeah, it just doesn't make for great TV, I suppose. But then maybe this is the point. They want to make the point that they are serious politicians. They're not populists. They're into the nitty-gritty of details that other parties just won't touch. This is one of them.
Maybe. I just think the Doge thing is...
You look utterly uninspired, Matthew.
Well, no, quite. But the Doge thing is a bit of a fallacy because there's nothing wrong with getting rid of government waste, local authority waste, absolutely. I think we're an incredibly bureaucratic country at times. There's certainly arguments maybe about red tape and all sorts of other things. There's always a lot on the cutting. Nobody ever speaks about the efficiency. How do we get to things faster? How do we get results faster? All it is, to me, different political priorities. So if you're talking about DEI or climate change, net zero jobs, or I think in Durham they were scrapping things to do with pride, that is just a different political priority. That is not efficiency and getting to things faster. It's just snake oil.
Oh, and productivity.
There
has been no growth in council or national government productivity in decades now. And if you can't, with all that's available in terms of AI and these machines and everything else, improve how well you work, you're failing your voters.
But I will agree on Richard Tice that, you know, I think, in theory, local people, local councils will know how to run an area better than Whitehall, for instance, and actually there's something to be said about emboldening councils, and maybe he's a supporter of Devo Max. He's George Osborne and Andy Burnham in one. Like, let's wait and see. What a sight that is, eh?
But it is a serious point, isn't it, that so much of council budgets now are spent on adult social care and children's special educational needs, and both worthy causes, but growing in size year on year and squeezing out what we would have once called bread and butter issues of councils.
Some councils, it's over 80%. And that entirely removes the point of local democracy, that you're not voting for your local council to spend your council tax on your libraries, your local bus service, your potholes. You're only able to choose 20% of that, and the rest of it is government-dictated services that the council is obligated to provide. I think we need to look at a restructure, or democracy becomes meaningless.
All right, you two, Annunciata and Matthew, are going to stick with us, because up next it seems like the social media police have had their comeuppance, and they've had to pay out a huge amount in damages to two people who, frankly, should never have been arrested. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Yeah, I do.
Welcome back. 25 past 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
We've got the head of popular comms at Popular Conservative on series Smog and political commentator Matthew Talbot. Actually, we were just talking a little earlier because there's been a row. Simon Rosen, Michael Rosen, the author, was ticked off by a newspaper columnist for using a free bus pass because he's a wealthy man, about 70. I have a free bus pass, and it's from Sadiq Khan, who I think is a buffoon, by the way.
He'll take it away, careful.
Yes, if you're listening, I think you're a buffoon. Are you back from Brazil on that jolly climate change conference? But
now I have to provide balance and support him.
But I've got that from the age of 60. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why are the people who are 60, who are working, earning good incomes, getting a free pass? It's not free in a sense because you pay into it through your council tax, but it is crazy, Matthew, don't you think?
I think 65 or sort of the retirement age.
Which is 67.
Yeah, I think that would make more sense.
But why? Should it not be means tested? I mean, right now you are more likely to live in poverty as a working age person than as a pensioner. These things should be means tested.
Well, the problem you have, unfortunately, and that's why I think universal benefits in many ways are nice, that everybody gets them regardless.
They're easy.
They are, and the problem is, in many cases, dependent on the scale of the population that you're dealing with, it costs more to means test than it is to give it out, so therefore lies in the problem of you might as well just give it to everybody if they want it or not.
Why charge for anything in that case? But also...
Now you're talking my language, Annunciata.
Annunciata is a communist.
But this is yet another
My travel pass is worth, to pay for it, would cost £3,264.
Which is about £5,500 before tax, isn't it?
How crazy is that? And I used to buy my pass religiously, an annual pass, zone 1 to 2, because that's what I needed for my work and getting back to my home. This goes 1 to 6, which virtually takes you right to the edge of the M25.
It's absolutely extraordinary.
And you won't take it off.
It's back to this point that so many services are mandated by central government and local councils are just expected to pick up the bill.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to this WhatsApp story?
It's a
the
great
story of two parents who were complaining about their daughter's school on a WhatsApp group, and the school called police. The police turned up to the parents' house.
6 police officers.
6 police officers, but some months later they have been compensated with £20,000 for wrongful arrest, I assume. Bit of a crazy story, Matthew.
Mental. Like, you know, what do you say? I read the synopsis and thought, oh, there must be more to this story.
There isn't.
But no, clearly there isn't. Actually, the police have paid out. The thing that shocked me more is nobody's being murdered at this current point, right? This is not something that's happening right now. And it was supposedly they've been accused of acting inappropriately in the playground and all this sorts of stuff. Why, therefore, did it need 6 police officers to rock up at the door in 3 separate cars? This is not urgent. Surely this is a cop and
the mother said when she saw the first police car arrive with 3 officers, she thought, are they coming to tell me my daughter's dead?
Which...
How terrible is that? She couldn't understand. She thought it was going to be... They had a liaison officer there, and so she was braced for this terrible, terrible conversation. Instead, they handcuffed them and took them to the police station and put them in a cell for 11 hours.
This is, I believe, the second example of around £20,000 in compensation from the police this year for people who have been accused of some very minor infraction online. And it's completely unacceptable. Yeah. We don't have freedom of speech anymore in this country, not because the law has changed, but because of the way the police are treating it. And we are all self-censoring.
Do you think there's also an element of people bringing the police into disagreements that would never normally have been the case? Because there's also examples in the paper today of parents who called the police on a school because the school, quite reasonably in my opinion, implemented a phone ban to stop children getting distracted.
I think there is a real problem with people accepting authority and rules. And you always want to blame someone else and pass the buck, and that people are using the police for those ends. I think we need a return to personal responsibility, and you take responsibility for your words, but you also take responsibility for your reaction to other people's words. Not everything is offensive.
It's a classic, isn't it, about the police spending too much time on screens and not enough time on streets, Matthew? Really basic.
Well, there's a shift in attitudes in the country as well. It's very rare, I'd say. I feel a bit sorry for the police, because if they're called out to something, they've got to go, right?
6 of them?
Well, no, and that's a decision for Hertfordshire police to sort of explain, but ultimately they've got better things to do than going out to see this. And on the phones one, I've seen a real shift since I was at school of, if I was in trouble, whether rightly or wrongly, whether the teacher was picking on me or not, my parents would go, what's he done?
Yeah.
Now, it's don't speak to my child, that my child is an angel. The parents are actually worse behaved than the kids in many cases.
And I've heard actual stories of people that I know, children at school, where the teacher has told off the child or put them in detention. Before the child even leaves the room, the head teacher stormed in and said, why have you disciplined this child? I've had the parents on the phone. And so the child is texting the parent mid-lesson saying, this teacher's not been very nice to me. The parent calls the head teacher mid-school. I mean,
we're mollycoddling people.
Insane breakdown.
There was a massive argument on Mumsnet last week. A teacher used the word wet wipe, saying someone didn't have resilience about something. And the child said it to the mother, it's so offensive that you can't possibly imply that a child is a wet wipe. I mean, honestly, how easily offended can we all be?
Yeah.
Our children need resilience. I've just had an email from my child's school for a lesson in how to face defiance from your children. The answer is, be a parent.
Yes, you're the boss.
But soon you won't even be allowed to tap them on the bottom if this smacking ban goes through.
I'm not wading into that debate. I'm cleverer than that.
Can't tempt you. What a shame.
Although, do you know what? Just for the slightest bit of balance, there's a better way to go about things than calling a child, depending on the age, a wet wipe. Some will be upset by that, right? We can all have a laugh
about it. As a former teacher, sometimes I think the point... You can become so wound up and infuriated.
Oh, no, I was doing the winding up, Miriam.
I'm amazed that actually more teachers don't snap, I have to say, because, you know, if you've got 30 teenagers in a room, they're all deliberately trying to stop you teaching the lesson, or in science especially, lighting all the Bunsen burners, setting fire to something other, to stay calm and not become insulting, it's quite hard.
And I don't think we instill in children any longer respect. Respect for rules, respect for adults. And actually it's completely necessary to have an environment in which they can learn and become those responsible adults themselves.
We have to read a statement from Hertfordshire Police and Crime Commissioner.
Who said?
Did he say we're sorry?
No,
come on,
they never
you know better than that.
do they?
This is Andrew's favourite part of the show. Well, there's clearly been a fundamental breakdown in relationships between a school and parents that shouldn't have become a police matter. Well said.
So no apology. And what about the £20,000 of public money that should be in the police budget to help law and order gone to this couple?
And if it had been a burglary, 6 policemen would not have turned up. Not a single car would have arrived.
They wouldn't turn up at all.
Well, moving on to someone with loads and loads of common sense, your news update with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. 11:33, the top story. The government is set to rewrite parts of the Human Rights Act, aiming to make it easier to deport illegal migrants. The Home Secretary will unveil the overhaul in Parliament this afternoon. The changes will include fast-tracking the deportation of illegal migrants and plans to end multiple appeals against removal. But refugee groups say it's just another gimmick that won't work. As we heard, a couple from Hertfordshire arrested for comments on a school WhatsApp group have said police paid them £20,000 in damages. Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen say they were held for 11 hours and accused the force of policing free speech. Officers had been investigating claims of harassment. President Trump is calling on Republicans to release secret files on Jeffrey Epstein, a U-turn from his earlier position. He says his party has nothing to hide ahead of a congressional vote expected tomorrow. Breaking this morning, Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced to death. She's been found guilty of ordering last year's crackdown on student protests, where the UN says up to 1,400 people were killed. Security has been tightened across Bangladesh, with fresh protests already breaking out. And snuggle up, a cold weather alert's now in force across much of England as snow and ice hits. The Highlands dropped to -7 overnight. That's the UK's coldest night since March. Those are the headlines for now. A full roundup from me at midday.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
That ex-Prime Minister of Bangladesh, sentenced to death, she's the aunt of Tulip Siddiq, the Labour MP, who Keir Starmer curiously made his anti-corruption minister. She had to resign over her links to that woman who's been condemned to death.
Yes.
Funny old world politics, isn't it?
It is. It's a global business, as we can see. Well, time now for the Great British Giveaway, and there are just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to enjoy Christmas on us this year. £40,000 in tax-free cash, shopping vouchers, GB News festive goodie bag. Here's how to enter.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up next, the Home Office Minister, Mike Tapp, tells GB News the government are on the same page as the public on immigration.
Really important that we get control and order to the border and the immigration system, and we are as frustrated as the public with the number of crossings.
We'll fill you in on Home Secretary Shabana Moo's planned asylum overhaul next. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cold week to come wherever you are. However, there will be some nice wintry sunshine for many of us, particularly throughout today. But we do have a cold wind. We've got Arctic air pushing in from the north. You can see the very cold, deep blue colours across the far north of Scotland in particular. And here, any showers that do fall will likely fall as sleet and snow, particularly across the high ground of Scotland. Elsewhere, we're expecting mainly dry weather, but we will see a few showers across the northeast of England as well. And a cold wind here will bring temperatures down into the low single figures, or feeling much closer to the low single figures. Further west, plenty of sunshine. It will feel fairly pleasant in the sunshine, but definitely much colder than it has been lately. And temperatures will fall away quite quickly this evening once the sun goes down. Now, the risk of snow showers does continue for the far north of Scotland throughout tonight and into this evening. There's a risk of some icy stretches as well as we head into Tuesday morning. sunshine here. A lot more cloud around across parts of Northern Ireland, so temperatures not falling below zero here, but elsewhere across the bulk of England and Wales, it will be a chilly night to come and a cold start to the day on Tuesday. Now, as we look to the north and west, you can see more in the way of cloud and rain arriving across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that will bring more of a focus for some sleet and snow throughout Tuesday morning. Further east it should stay dry, but the cloud will build as the night goes on, so it'll probably be a slightly cloudier start to the day on Tuesday away from the far southeast, and there's going to be a greater risk of some rain, sleet and possibly some snow on the highest ground through Tuesday, particularly across parts of Scotland, parts of the Pennines. The very highest points of the Pennines could see some snow, but for most of us it's going to be a mix of rain and sleet. So a much cloudier and damper day for north and western areas. Temperatures still are below average and much colder than it has been lately. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's 20 to 12. Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
So it's been trailed 4 days, it seems. The Home Secretary introducing what she says are the toughest measures yet on illegal migration, with countries refusing to take back failed asylum seekers or foreign criminals facing a total visa ban.
Well, joining us now is GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. Good morning, Mark. And it does sound like we already know what she's going to say.
Yes, we were just saying in the break, I will be fascinated to see what Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle, if it indeed is him, as it may well be, in the Commons this afternoon when Shabana Mahmood stands up to deliver this keynote speech on her plans, because it seems to me every single aspect of what the government is announcing has been leaked to the press, to the various newspapers since Friday, really.
Yeah.
And it's not, as I say, it's not just one key element of what they are announcing. It's everything.
Yeah.
It's absolutely everything. What's she going to talk about that we don't already know now? So I'm sure, because we know Sir Lindsay Hoyle gets, understandably, very exercised about ministers, you know, pre-briefing in the press before Parliament has a chance to actually scrutinise any of this policy. So it'd be interesting to see what he says. But, I mean, they are just so desperate to get a hold of the narrative, to get some positive messaging out there. And they have had a lot of coverage over the weekend, a lot of it being fairly positive in nature in terms of viewing it as rather tough, the policies that she plans to introduce. But, yeah.
I was just going to say, I wonder how many illegal migrants will cross the channel in the next couple of days, which will just then completely blow everything she says out of the water.
Well, she's got Mother Nature on her side this time. We've had a really, really rotten spell in the channel, weather-wise, which has been great in keeping illegal activity in the channel at bay. We got, I think it was about 216 came on Friday, but then Saturday, Sunday, nothing. And I think for most of this week, it's looking like those winds are going to blowing from the north and be just a bit too strong for these small boats to come across. But listen, hey, we're already at 39,300, which is well above the 38,800 who arrived during the whole of last year. And we've still got good bit of November to go and all of December. There will be days where the weather is passable, and we know that when these days come, we will get very significant numbers crossing. And that's a big issue, is how do you stop them? And really the the tinkering with the ECHR to allow things like it will be a longer period if you come across into the country illegally, be a much longer period that you have to wait before you can get indefinite leave to remain. Do they actually care about that? I don't think so. As long as they're here in this country, is it that cumbersome for them to have to go through a process of getting it renewed every so often? And we know that this not fit for purpose Home Office probably isn't going to be that on top of the paperwork anyway. So it could turn out to be a right old mess, all of the new measures that they're having to take on board as well.
Just add to the confusion.
Yeah.
Mark, we've perhaps always thought that having a sea border was an advantage in controlling our borders. But actually, if you look at the action that, for example, Denmark has taken very successfully to drastically reduce the number of asylum claims, they've just reinstituted border controls. You can't get in if you don't have a passport. Actually, having a large coastline is turning out to be a curse rather than a benefit in this case. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? You know, you've got the Schengen area, but actually, because of the real crisis that has been faced by so many countries in Europe, they have reinstigated a number of border checks. And under Schengen, you can do that in times of a national emergency and crisis, and that's clearly what they see as being the issue. So, yeah, we have a sea border, but
it's leaky.
But it's a sea border that allows us to go to the halfway point, basically, in the channel, and anybody that enters our water gets immediately picked up and taken to Dover Harbour and put into our asylum system.
Fascinating. Well, she's got a lot riding on this today, hasn't she, Home Secretary?
Well, she has, and there's no doubt, I think, you know, that she is one of the Labour MPs with a small C, conservative bent, who does believe that there needs to be tougher border controls. But listen, this is not shared by many, many people in her party. No. And I think there's a big old rebellion brewing on this, along the lines of what we saw when they tried to implement those welfare reforms.
And they don't like the language she uses about illegal migration tearing the country apart.
No. Well, we will be covering that live from Parliament on GB News. But up next, we're getting our sporting hats on. There's been a historic victory for England over the weekend. We have a fantastic guest lined up.
Who is it? We're keeping it a secret.
You have to wait, Andrew.
I probably won't have heard of him.
And here's the forecast for the European destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
After Storm Claudia, conditions will be improving across Portugal and Spain, rain clearing to sunshine, though we are expecting still some showers across parts of the Mediterranean. Nevertheless, on Tuesday across Portugal and Spain there will be plenty of sunshine, but as we drift our way eastwards we are expecting some heavy showers, if not some thunderstorms, across parts of Italy, the Adriatic coastline and also parts of Greece. Still plenty of showers as we head into next week, in between some brighter interludes, but feeling a lot cooler than of late.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. And England's rugby team had a historic win over the weekend in the Autumn Internationals, defeating the All Blacks 33-19.
That is a big margin of victory, and it marks the team's 10th successive win and their first against New Zealand since 2019. They've apparently only beaten the All Blacks 9 times in history. I bet you knew that, Miriam.
I couldn't remember. I know it's very, very infrequently. They are the team to beat, aren't they, traditionally?
Are they?
Yes.
Right.
Well, former Rugby World Cup champion Kat Merchant joins us now. Kat, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. This is a fantastic victory for our team, especially against New Zealand, who, of course, have got this very tough reputation.
Yeah, New Zealand have this aura about them in both the men's and the women's game. They are always the team that's wanted to beat. And actually, the last time they won at Twickenham, the men, was back in 2012. And I remember it because we were playing on the same day and the women won. Then afterwards, the men won, and it was this incredible atmosphere. And it was amazing because those wins can be so rare, especially with the guys. So they really... They had this confidence about them that they just took to that game, and the atmosphere in the stadium was incredible.
And of course, the New Zealand team, the All Blacks, have this incredible opening routine, the haka, that's quite intimidating. How did our boys respond to that at the start?
Well, they're meant to stand 10 metres back, and actually they approached it, which they did in 2019 as well when they beat them. They decided they were going to walk forward and go to that halfway line because it is, you know, it's a war dance, essentially. That's what they're doing. And so how you respond is really important. And the women do a haka that's different to the men's, but still it's pretty intimidating, and you have to just go, no, okay, I'm going to use this to motivate me rather than let it be intimidating. And that's exactly what the guys did.
And there's 2 years till the World Cup. Everybody thinking back to that incredible victory in 2003. Do you think the men might have a chance of regaining that world title?
I think in World Cups, anything can happen, and that's the beautiful thing about them. England seem to be building. We've gone off the back of some not great performances of late, but there seems to be a new belief coming back into this squad, which is really great to see as an England supporter.
Oh, it's great. The men are catching up with the women, Kat.
Well, yeah, the women have won it twice. So, yeah, just this year and then back in 2014. So, yeah, men, let's go. Yeah,
absolutely. Kat Merchant, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Brilliant, thank you. See ya.
I've been invited to rugby matches quite a few times. I've never been. Never been.
I've got tickets. Well, that's it.
You're a big rugby fan, aren't you?
I love rugby. It's a great game. Well, that's it from Britain's Newsroom. Up next, we've got Good Afternoon Britain with Cameron and Penny. See you tomorrow.
Thank you both. Could seizing and selling illegal migrants' jewellery help pay for their accommodation instead of taxpayers? Well, that's what Denmark has done, and the Home Secretary is considering doing the same.
And what about free speech when we hear about the couple who were arrested, 6 police officers sent to their home for their rather sarcastic comments on WhatsApp about their daughter's school?
And one Oxfordshire street could have to wait 103 years for their potholes to be fixed. All of that and much more coming up shortly.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's set to be a frosty start to the day, feeling cold, particularly in the brisk winds, and plenty of sunshine, though a good chance that we could see some wintry showers. These mainly around North Sea coasts. These could be quite blustery at times, possibly bringing some sleet and snow, mainly across the high ground of Scotland, but a chance we could see some to the south of this as well, mainly across hills. But for most, it's set to be a dry day, plenty of sunshine and wall-to-wall blue skies, but it is going to feel cold, highs reaching around 8 to 9 degrees Celsius.